Alright, welcome in, friends and fiends. How's it going for you guys? Things are going well. For me, the Hexening will continue today. We are jumping back into doing some hex mapping and developing those points of interest, those adventure locations, for the campaign that I run on Fridays, so tomorrow. At least while I'm streaming this, it'll be tomorrow. So now that my players are, in the current campaign, are on their kind of downward swing towards the end of the first adventure tier, which is levels 1 through 4 in D&D 5/5.5. I need to ramp up my work on my points of interest for my county hex map that we've been working on, because those are levels 5 through 10, so they're about to get to that area, so I need to start focusing on that. So I need to kind of more pointedly focus directly in the area around the area that they're going to be in, I think. That way there's stuff for them coming up, because it kind of just started at the top. I figured I'd work on this a lot more, but as is the way, you get sidetracked, you work on other things. It's just part of that. I started up a new solo campaign, right? So that all takes time. So we're gonna jump back into it. I'm just gonna focus on the immediate areas around Paleh Island, and we can, guys, real quick while I'm thinking about. Hold up. There it is. All right. Rats. I did it correctly. You guys can see it. So those familiar with the map already know what it looks like, but that's this whole Atlas hex. So this is everything that where the game, probably the entire campaign, will take place within this one hex. There are what, 1,800 of these hexes in my world map, of these like large hex. So you run a lot of campaigns here and never have to do the same thing over again. That was kind of my idea when I was coming up with the world. But there's also a lot of work. So the vast majority of the world is not detailed like this. But in the areas where I decide to run games, even if it's maybe like a little one-shot or something, I try to then build up that area. So little pockets here and there, I fill in the world map as I'm going along. So this is Paleh Island, is this little hex right down here. That is where they are. And that's where they have spent the last, or what is it, like 30 odd sessions here. Well, not true, because they also went from Mabdushabira. So they traveled here and then spent the rest of those sessions here. But like 2 or 3 sessions, I think, traveling the island. So, but they are, oops, sorry, there's Paleh Island. They've been on this little island right here. So each one of these small hexes, by the way, is 10 nautical miles across. That's not important. It's a little bit longer than 10 normal miles. Or, what is that, like 20 something kilometers? Roughly 20 kilometers, a little less than 20 kilometers. It's gotta be pretty close to 20, actually. That's the idea. We're gonna jump in, work on this, but we have been filling out stuff kind of up here at the top. And we had filled out, just kind of going down the row all the way through this X over here. So now we need to jump ship a little bit and go down here. So we're going to focus directly on here. But to do that, I'm going to actually need to know what number this X is. Let's zoom out a little bit. We have that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Correct. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. This is hex 19. Good. Good. We're going to go ahead and add sub-tab in here. Or are these not? 19 hex. I guess these weren't sub-tabs. It's like, okay, whatever. Doesn't matter. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna grab this guy in the format we've been using and drop it down here. That with 19, and we don't know what these numbers are gonna be yet. That in is double O's, 007. first lights out. I haven't decided whether I'm going to play it yet or not. I'm thinking maybe not. I don't know. Something about the face of James Bond doing that weird DreamWorks face. Kind of looks like almost like a person, but not like a person. I don't know. Something about it's not really speaking to me. I also am not a huge fan of the Hitman games. I haven't really played them a whole bunch, so it doesn't feel like it will probably be my jam. But you know, maybe if it's low cost or it's on sale later on down the line, maybe I'll pick it. But the important thing is, as we jump into this is of course going to be one of my working streams, so commentary, I will try to do my best, but I do also need to focus. Which I'm back over here because I forgot to open. I need to open my hex doc. Go. We'll need that. Not gonna need this. Also, I'm getting something delivered. My dog might go insane. I don't know if I have to sign for it or not, so I might have to jump up and leave very quickly, unexpectedly. But that's only if my partner doesn't have an opportunity to get it. So it kind of depends on whenever it gets delivered. And if that needs actually to be signed for. I don't know. Right. Here's our hex stocking. Okay, so that's good. And we're gonna need some well, hopefully the Google Dice will do better than our solo RPG did. And if you watch that stream on Saturday, oof, man. A lot of single digit rolls. Dice were not kind to us. See what our first roll today is going to be an 8. So in the same vein, we'll see how that goes. Because this is a working stream, I am actually going to... We'll be turning off this sort of background music you're listening to, because I'm going to listen to some of my own music. Helps me focus a little bit better. Let me separate this stuff, and then I'll show you what I'm going to be listening to today, in case you want to listen along. All right, I think we've got most things. I think right, this goes over here. No, don't. It. No, don't want that. Technical difficulty. Sorry, I apologize. It's the new tab splitting thing that's in a lot of browsers now. I thought I had turned it off. Apparently, I'm not. So I need to do that. I don't find it helpful, and in fact, it does a lot of weird stuff when I try to move windows around for this. Okay, we're gonna put that over there. This is fine. Everything's good there. Okay, we should be... Go, let me show you the... Okay, so this is what I'm... Playlist. My own stupid face. Alright, so the playlist. We got Yoko Kanno's Sora's Folktale, some Synthwave best stuff, Night Drive best stuff, which I've already looked at a little bit. I'm looking at right here. And City Pop Essentials. We're definitely not getting through all this, but that's where we're going to start. This is again Shinji. I was listening to him in the last stream. SHIN_JI on YouTube, if you want to listen along. But I'm going to do that, which means that I have to... Sorry about that. That's going away. Tabletop audio. Alright. Here we go. There's music. Alright, took a second. Alright. We're going to zoom in a little bit here. Ooh. Zoom. We're starting right down here. So as you can see down at the bottom, I've got a little bit of information about these guys already, but we're going to be doing a lot more information. Right, and that's in 01. So this is Giants versus Elementals Battlefield. That's good. Oh, actually, this is already present. Because my current play area actually already encompasses this. Let me pull up that document. Apologies. I forgot that I actually, when I made the island, I actually did the circles around it. Hexes around it. Friday night campaign. Loud in my ear. Punched up there. Up. All right. It was very scuffed. It's all right. We're gonna press on. The Paleh Island mapping key. All right. All should be well. Okay, let's finally get back to it. Like that thing that I use for it. Why not? County map key. I guess I haven't done the key for it. That's fine. Here. No, that's for the town proper. Don't need that. All right. So we're gonna make it up a little bit as we go, but this guy is up here. It's that battlefield in Northwest Hex. That was APL 09. That's what I was trying to grab. So it is 09. Gotcha. We know this is some sort of battlefield. That battlefield is love. All right. So, and I also know that it's giants versus elementals, which I've already done a lot of telegraphing already in the campaign because they're in and around that area right now. Or were technically they're back on the island proper, but they were over there very quickly. So I've already led up to stuff. They've already encountered one of the giants thus far. And we got a bunch of elemental stuff going on in the campaign. Perfect. Let's jump over to the conflict here. The battle rages. Oh, we've got the cause and everything. So we are good here. I don't think we did an occupation. This is probably before I added occupation on here. So let's roll an occupation because I didn't put none down specifically. So this is technically technically this is in a civilized area. We're in the Heartlands. We need to roll d6. Money, big money, no whammies. 3. Place. I'm gonna hit every tab except the right one. Means we're gonna have some sort of settlement there. Great. All right, so we're at the county level. Quick way to do this. I forgot to move this stuff. Now it's down. Includes a hamlet. Perfect. So up to 400 people. All right. So 63, because it has to be a minimum of 50. So not very many. So 65 people live here. I have this note here, so that way I can save that later. We also want to. All right, and for this, we know that the battle rages. This is like a long-standing fight that's happening between giants and elementals in the area. And they are fighting over area of cultural or religious significance. Hence. I was right the first time. I just want to say, put a G there. What that is. This is, I'll be very transparent. It's almost assuredly will be religious significance. We've already touched on some of that. It's also a very heavily themed religious campaign. which is I don't think I have played in a game world or run. I mean, I've run the system before, and I know that the world's very, very religious, but I've never played in a setting or seen a published setting that was so religiously focused, except for maybe RuneQuest, which is it's sitting down there on the floor next to me because I've been looking at it recently, where religion is so important that it's a thing that everybody interacts with, regardless of whether you are playing a cleric or a mystic or something like that. Very interesting. Been really enjoying it. It really gives a very different flavor to a fantasy game by making the church or like religion in general very, very important. Okay. Like, as important, if not more important, than like the sovereign of whatever nation you're in. Very interesting. The nobility of it. Okay. I kind of want something, because it's really just a marshland that they're fighting over. I don't know if we have anything specific. So I'm going to use a spark table. Let me bring it up real quick. Let's bring up the solo dark stuff. See if that gives me some idea. They're fighting over some cultural or religious significance. So oftentimes it would be like, oh, is this like a Crusades thing or something like this? But between elementals and giants, I think it's a little bit different. Now, the nice thing is the giants already have kind of an elemental flair to them. Just right off the bat, because you have fire and stone and storm and air. So there's already a lot of powder keggy stuff you could do there about control of elements, which ties very much into the overall plot of the campaign. All right, so I've got my dark tip. Yeah, I always start thinking I have everything open, and then I never have everything open. 4932. Fortify. Enemy. That makes you think it's like some area in a power, an area in which they draw power from, which is very interesting because there's already like a ley line power kind of area that's on the island. That doesn't mean there can't be another one. They've definitely, characters have already come across totems and things the giants have set up. There has been a lot of elemental foreshadowing we've done already. So I do like that. Cultural significance, so sort of like location of power. Used to fortify them. So here's the question. We've got APL 09, so that's going to give us a good idea. You know, there should probably be elementals in and around that level pretty easily. So it might have to look at. I mean, there's no reason we can't look at both. And on those. So we'll just throw in here elementals and giants. Now, giants are a little weird now in 5.5 because some of them kind of fall into other categories like Fae and stuff. Let's do it. That gives us a lot of things. So here are some 9s that we can look at. And this is just ideas, right? We can always go lower, go a little bit higher if we need to. This is just kind of the APL is the average party level. So things that are tied, characters who should be dealing with this should be roughly party level 9. It's kind of what it's tuned for as far as CR. That's a way that I kind of mix the world up so that not everything is always perfectly balanced for party whenever they show up, but it also means that, like in the last adventure they went on, they were overleveled for. And on the next adventure they might go on, which I'm presuming could be the next location dungeon need type adventure they might go on, they will technically be slightly underleveled. Okay, so we got cloud giants, we got fire giants, we got lightning hulks, and all sorts of stuff. Do any of these make sense? Maybe we should expand our thing a little bit. We should probably keep. What we really want to do is keep everything within tier of adventure, once we start crossing tiers of adventure, that's when stuff gets real messy. Because the balancing for creatures changes based off of what the characters can do, and there's significant jumps in their power between the tiers of adventure, like a 4th level character versus a 5th level character. Your cantrips go up in damage, you get extra attack, all that good stuff. So anything in this range should give us a pretty good idea, between 5 and 10. Or, yeah, 5 and 10. So we have some pretty good stuff that's in here. I kind of want to stay around this 9 level, so that kind of means we're in the higher level here. We've got Myrmidons, we've got lots of stuff that we can use. So we're really up to... We're very spoiled for choice, because we're right in the sweet spot for giants. And for a lot of elementals. Elementals are great because they actually work really well across most levels. They're kind of like dragons in that aspect. Oh, I like this one, Shadow Moor, because they are technically in a wetland, a marshy, coastal, shoaly kind of area. Tree Club, Boulder, all magic cataclysm. I like that a lot. Acid, fire, lightning, thunder. Yes, absolutely. This is exactly what we're looking for. This is exactly the type of creature I'm looking for, is to anchor this in. This is from Orwin, of course it is. Alright, so the Shadowmoor Giant is a good one to anchor this off of. They have that wild magic surge that only does elemental, which means that they're probably drawing from whatever this fortifying source is, and they're able to tap into all different ones. Like that, they're going to use a Tree Club, which works very well with sort of this mangrove coastal area. I like that a lot. Like it a lot. And they could have an opposing elemental. Nice troll. These are all giants. Be looking at the type. Do the water elemental Myrmidon, though that's slightly underleveled. I think it's a flux charger. Lightning? Makes sense. Merfolk Wavebender. There are a lot of swimming stuff that's going on here. This part of the world. Lots of shallow waters. It's a relatively shallow, not an inland sea, but it is a narrow sea. It's a little bit more like a gulf, really. It's a little bit larger. I'm trying to draw a good comparison. It's like somewhere in between, kind of like the Gulf of Oman and the Sea of Japan. It's kind of right in there as to kind of its setup. Frost Salamander, I don't think would make sense. It's a very tropical area, so that would be a weird thing to pull out. Not impossible, just a little bit weird. Durs. Maybe we just anchor the one for right now, because I mean, here's the thing: is you're probably not going to be able to talk to the elemental. A lot of elementals don't do a lot of talking, especially because now they have the different elemental speeches. So trying to talk to them is really difficult, and the party that I have already struggles a little bit with talking with people. They don't have the greatest diversity of languages. It's great. Language is a big thing in my game as well. So I love it, but it does make communication difficult. Because they don't have access to tongues yet. So I think, yeah, we'll anchor it on this Shadowmoor Giant, because I like that a lot. and then we can kind of fluff in some of the other stuff around. Because I mean, there's so much stuff down here. Good. Dust hulks, elementals, like even our like bog standard elementals are already in this tier. So sometimes it's a little bit of a peanut butter conundrum. We have way too many choices, and that actually can make it a little bit more difficult. We're going to anchor it on that Shadowmoor Giant, CR8. What could be this location, though? The other one's more of like a menhir, almost like a Stonehenge kind of situation. I'm trying to think of what do we do here. Be a good one. I mean, we could do like an impact crater. That's always a good, nice, easy one. I kind of want to make it. I could make it like a chaos pool. Yeah, I like that. Maybe it'll be like an atoll. That, for those of you who are not familiar with atolls, what they look like, they look like this. I'm thinking maybe we set up a guy like this. Forge atoll. Ooh, I like that a lot. These are a little pretty grand in scale, so it would be a little smaller. But it does, it fits into sort of our shallow water, which is a little bit more like this kind of area. A lot of shoals and reefs and stuff like that. Yeah, I like it. So we're gonna add that in. What am I gonna call this? I'm gonna come up with a better name for it. But for right now, I'm gonna call it the Chaos Atoll. And height of an going. I was gonna say rogue elementals. That's actually a better thing. So it's maybe this Chaos Atoll is spawning the elementals, and it's the giants who are trying to kind of contain it, and they're not doing the greatest job, which makes sense for everything that the history of Poly and things that are going on. It's definitely the giants on a stark decline as to their power and abilities in the area, as the smaller races have kind of taken over the island in the surrounding area. So they're trying to hold this back because it's sort of in their homeland, and it's now becoming a more difficult thing for them to take care of. And wild elementals. I almost want to make it kind of goopy. Yeah. I guess ectoplasm would be kind of the right word, kind of. Well, let's just go with plasma. Primordial plasma. The atoll center. Yeah, so we'll make this like the primordial. Like that better. Goes into a little bit of the cosmology of the world. So the cosmology of the world, going to make it not a standard D&D. It's actually a linear cosmology. Very interesting. I mean, I guess you could take that linear, sort of like if you look at the solar system, and they're like, oh, the sun's at the end, and then at the very other end of it, you have Pluto. Be like, oh, all the planets are in a line between them, and it's like, but that's a very simplistic view of how the solar system works. There's really a whole bunch of circles going around a central point, while that point, all those points fly through space, which is a little bit more how the cosmology actually works. But everything kind of comes off of that sun, which is a place that we call the Chaos Forge, where all energy and matter is kind of spewed forth into the universe out of. And at the other end, you have the full end, sort of black void entropy, where all of it disappears back into it. And so among that thing, that's a lot of the chaos or that magical energy, a lot of that's framed around a little bit things like radiation, like solar radiation, and then that ebbs and flows and breaks down time. It's things that are closer to the forge have a lot more of that chaotic energy in it. That's where things like Feywild are, where things are strange and overgrown and things like that. And as you get prime material planes kind of in the middle, that Goldilocks zone, and then as you get further away, you have planes like the Shadowfell and stuff like that. And then the closer you get to the center, more chaos. Further away you get, things become more lawful. Things kind of become more ordered and regimented. And pattern. And patterned is maybe a better term than lawful. So there's chaos, and then there's pattern. Like if you see, like the way that magma and lava will harden into crystal shapes. That's kind of a microcosm of what we're talking about. Like it kind of goes from being all over the place, and then as that raw energy and matter cools, it creates bonds and creates formed shapes. So these things there is a pinprick of that primordial chaos energy that's on the material plane, and it's spewing forth these chaotic elementals that are kind of spawned from this raw chaos, essentially. I want it to be more of an eke. I don't want it to be like a huge geyser. I want it to be just kind of like, and it ekes out, and then those things form into energy, into creatures. And so we'll go with kind of leading. I don't want to. I guess sort of our primary VIP. Our primary point of contact is. I guess we should come up with a name. Go here. Pull up Sanitars real quick. Even though I don't think there's anything for character names, but I don't think there's anything giant related in here. Probably not. I can't imagine that there are. Sure aren't. So I'm gonna let's ask a question real quick. I think it's most likely, so +5. Do they have a normal, what we've been using as Arabic names? Okay, so the answer is yes. And then, do they get a male name or a female name? I will be male. Alright, D100. 07. Keem. Then we'll put here, they are a Shadowmoor Giant, CR08. To corral the growing stream. Then it makes it a little bit more urgent as far as paying attention to it. The growing, we'll say constant. Effluence of elementals. Yeah, we're gonna use all the fancy words like effluence. All right, so there's an occupation here. We're gonna roll a new spark. Use the one we had. Already. Try to give us an idea about this place. 1335. Illuminate. Asset. That sounds like find something. I need to find something. Or a person. Person could also be an asset. Now, if I was throwing up an adventure for this right now, one of the things that the person who could be missing might be a Keem. Just put it on here. Yeah. I would probably remember that, but just in case. All right, one done. Did it take us a while? Yeah. Sometimes these go real easy. Sometimes they're a little more difficult. I have to noodle on them a little bit. I think at this point, let's jump back, take a look in a book, and let's find out what other areas. Can I do this? Still in there? Nice. Still on the clipboard. All right, so we've got 2. 3, 4. Some of these will be pretty easy to fill in, like Paleh Island, because I've already written that location up because it's the keystone for the campaigns thus far. It's like the major settlement that we're kind of using for the hex crawling and running. It's their home base of operations campaign. And they've also been to 6th area already, which is a ferry. And they met the Marsh King. I believe they've also been through 7. So I can actually... there's going to be a bunch of them, though, because it's a civilized area. Hey, how's it going? Nice to see. Hopefully your day is going well. 7, 8, 10, 11. Okay. So a lot of stuff goes in here, but that's just because of the area that we're in. That takes us all the way to 13. 14. And last 7, 13. Of course, yeah. I know that. I know why I was that confused. Thing is always in the middle. X. I know that. I should remember that for some reason. Oh yeah, the migraine. That sucks. I sympathize with you. Luckily, I don't get headaches all that often, though I did have one in the past week. But luckily for me, they are relatively rare occurrence. But I do know them to be a debilitating thing, so I am very sorry. Not fun. Especially like the sensitivity to lights and sounds and stuff. Imagine that makes things very, very difficult. Alright, 17, 18, 19. Boy, we got a lot of things in here. We got a lot of stuff. Okay, luckily I'm not under the gun as far as I have to have this done by like tomorrow or anything like that. In fact, I don't really even probably need to have this done. I could do it on a basis of just whenever they show up there. But I try not to do that. I also just want to fill out aspects of the world. Six, 9. Alright. Oh boy, we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff. Throw in here. Alright, so that was 19, 20, 21. Probably an easier way to do that. Head. 3. Six. 7. 8. 9. And so those of you who have watched me do the mapping streams or watched me fill out this entire map before, that I realize I'm not showing you. I should show you. There we go. This full map before. Watch me fill out that stuff before. You know that anytime that we're in that civilized area, that there's a 5 in 6 chance that there's going to be a point of interest in any one of these hexes. So, in the Heartlands area where things are really, really settled, there's a buttload of stuff, as you can see. Most of these hexes have stuff in it. So we have done 1. Nailed it. Alright. Move on to number 2, APL 06. That's the fish farm ruin. Yeah. I don't think I have any additional information on that in here, but let's take a look. That's in the northeast hex. Nope, I just have down fish farm ruins. Okay, perfect. Hey, what do you know? They're ruins. That works out for us. Alright, recent attack column. Giants, it has been picked clean. Again, so a lot of these before, when I got down to here, I stopped doing all the rules necessarily, so I haven't done it for any sort of, I think, whether there's an occupation here or not. Because there should probably be an occupation here, because it's all very much heartlands. One, yep, sure is. Not that one. I know what I'm doing. There we go. Alright, there will be a little hamlet with 75 people there. Nice and easy. Let's go ahead and get a spark out of the way while we're around with the dice. $75 and 46. 75 is question wealth. Maybe they left stuff behind. Well, no, we know they didn't because they picked it clean. But they also picked clean the ruins of a fish farm, or left a fish farm in ruins. So you're like, why a fish farm? All right, what was the total there? Question wealth. Question wealth. Excellent. All right. We could come up with a name for this fish farm, which I think would be a good idea. Because fish farm is not very descriptive. Let's do that. If we jump back over this document, we can go up to, I think, up. We can do some names up here. This name thing is one thing that I want to work on a little bit more. And I think if we hit basic adjective, I'll jump. I have a D66 table that I use in my Dungeon Master's Binder, which I think might work a little bit better for us. If we roll that. Sure, we will. It's very hard not to get an identifier. Alright, let's roll a D6. And we got a 6. Function identifier feature. Alright, function is farm, or we'll probably call it fishery. Fishery. What's a nice little feature of this area? We might look for some sort of like marshland feature. All right. And then we're going to need an identifier. I said that I was going to use the D66 table, so that's what we do. All right, so this is fishery. The fish fishery. Alright, let's grab it. I know. I've been trying not to use the printed out resources so that way you guys can see it, but this one I don't want to go looking for. So I could probably find it. I'm not going to. Don't like you though. Alright, it's a D66 table. If you're not familiar with the D66 table, you just roll 2d6. So it actually doesn't have 66 results on it. It has 36. Hey, the very last one. A notable historical or miraculous event at a fishery. Interesting. Roll the D10 on the other table just to see if I get something that jumps behind a little bit better. 9. A sentiment. I like sentiment maybe a little bit better. Oh, then we can do it off the feature. Yeah. I like that. Give me some marsh plants. Give me a list. One of the things that AI is sometimes actually for. No, I want like me some actual one. Yeah, I know it's got grasses and reeds and sedges and stuff. I know that. No, I don't want pop-ups. We might just call it sedge. Or we could call it sweet sedge. That's pretty good as far as just kind of a basic. I like Rush too, though. Got Mare's Tail. If you notice, that showed up already. Faces in front of it. There it is. Mare's Tail. If you notice, that already showed up in our solo RPG on Saturdays, where I went and grabbed this name. Mare's Tail is the Mare's Tail crossing that we went through that had the leprechauns in it. I'm thinking like Rush. No, that is more of a plant. Really should be more of a feature. This will be better. Hey. You're gonna actually give me a thing though, are you? No. Sure isn't. Alright. Yep, so that means I'm just gonna make it up. Alright. Sometimes I try not to go with my mind because I'll name the same things over and over and over and over again. And when I'm doing a volume like this, I try not to do that because I'll end up doing the same things over. But for this one, I'm gonna go with Quiet Rush. And we'll go Calm. Calm Sedge Fishery Ruins. I'm a little surprised we ended up with a hot there, though. That's a bit weird. So this is old because I that way now. I don't know why. So it doesn't take up as much space, I think. They're doing visually, it just looks better to me. Let's go down to ruins. No, this must be remains. Empty and picked clean. I don't have a hot there. Now I don't know why I put hot there. Is it a trap? I think that's extremely likely. No. There's some sort of hazard there. Get a typing for the hazard. Ooh, 5. I believe that makes it a weird. Oh. Weird, which I think is aberration. I'm gonna go with aberrant hazard. There's some sort of aberrant hazard there. Which then deepens lore like as to why maybe the giants attacked this place. We don't know that, and they would never know that. My player characters will never know that unless they go explore it. They may or may not. But I think if we look at the map, we can kind of. Is that this one? I guess it must be this one, yeah. Giant ruins. Hold on. Wait, did I mess this up? Is this a giant attack? Or is it supposed to be a giant fish farm? I think it might be supposed to be a giant fish farm. It doesn't mean that it's not attacked by giants. Was it also attacked by giants? I think 50-50. Right. I'm going to change this to Calm Giant. 3 runes. The place that the small folk would call that. Oh, that's where the Calm Giants live. Those are the ones who don't try to kill us all the time. And it's laying in ruins. There you go. It's a destroyed maze of fishing nets, drying racks, and splintered barrels. We'll go with massive. Should we just say giant? Maybe we should just say giant to make that very clear. No, I'll go with massive. Giant next. The giant fishery. Should I capitalize giant? Maybe I should capitalize giant. That way, this is notes for myself. So when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, right, giant, capital G giant. Like, not as in it's just a big place. Back to a recent raid. They ruined it a recent raid. I love using alliteration whenever I can. Terrible like that. It's clear they left a little behind of worth. Yeah, beat giants. Correct. Yeah. Well, at least there were giants here. Maybe not giants here anymore. Maybe some giant bodies. Now, the hamlet that's here should be small folk. It shouldn't be giants. I didn't roll monsters. If I rolled monsters, it would have made it just giants. But it's not that. I really want something to tell me a little bit more about that hazard. Maybe let's do... you know what? I was going to roll on the solo dark table, but I think I'm just going to roll for my hazards table. Since I went through business of actually pulling this out, I have a little hazards table in here. Roll twice and try to put them together, 7 and 9. Alright, so a permanent spell effect and a noisemaker. The noisemaker in this context is something that procs a wandering monster roll. if there's a random encounter. Something that draws things in. So there's some sort of permanent spell effect, so it is that aberrant sort of energy. Which in and of itself, the way that my world works is that monsters are often drawn towards magical energy. That sort of chaos radiation, which is magic equals chaos, often. So they're drawn to that, almost like a siren's call, a little bit. So just having an area of magical spell effect will draw monsters to it. So it is some sort of noise maker. Now I'm going to roll the D100 and see if it can kind of give me, because I'm kind of thinking, obviously my first thought is a siren's call. Some sort of like wailing, banshee kind of cry, but I'm not sure that makes sense. 17. Actually, what we should do, I don't even know why I did this. What I should do is just look for some aberrant monsters that make sense, some aberrations that make sense for this level. Yeah, harpies are a good one. Yeah, I like that one, but the harpies are a little low level. Because I wanted it to be like a permanent effect that's, I think, drawing the aberrant creatures in, rather than that being the thing that makes the sound. Yours is 6, is that right? Gotcha. Alright, so 6. Zerlan. Now, ideally, I would go in here and then I would also just tap and be like, hey, it's in the wetlands area, your habitat. But that tends to not go very well. I doubt there's even one in here. The only thing that I know that it's going to pull if I throw in swamp is that, or water or something like that, coastal, I can throw coastal in there. That will almost assuredly bring me an aboleth. There it is. But this Kuatoa Archpriest, I like that. I like that a lot. One harpy finds shiny prey and calls it a flock. A druid they call swamp snakes. Oh, that's a fun idea. But I really like this Kuatoa idea. Really honest. Range scepter. Familiar ranged. Drawing. Tongues. Divination. I'm trying to think of a permanent spell area that would work. That would be 5th or 6th level, which is what? 3rd level spells? No, maybe 4th levels? We can check real class. There, I guess. 6th level. Yeah, they're still on 3rd level. A 3rd level spell. Be interesting. Drawing tongues. Yeah. I think it's drawing to me to like there's some sort of like I think maybe like an awful pit where they've almost done something to make it like a charm effect to make it's kind of like they use it for chum, so it makes the scent more alluring and it's drawing in these Kuatoa perhaps. I kind of like that. That's freaking weird, and that's why I like it. Super weird thing. Left intact. Awful pit. CR06. Finds the entry. Yeah, that's suitably bizarre. The thing you don't really want to wander upon, but it's very much in line with stuff that I've been running for the campaign. Like the players just hanging out, you know, doing a little travel. They're moving from hex to hex. They go by and they happen to witness some cultists like doing live human sacrifices out in some ruins, and they're like, "What?" And watching put a person on an altar and cut them open with a ceremonial knife and like pull out their innards and use them for spell casting while the person's still alive. All sorts of weird stuff. It is that kind of game. Alright, I think we hit everything we wanted. We wanted an aberrant hazard. That's an aberrant hazard. That the hazard is that one of these things might be there. We still have that question well, so the hamlet nearby is also going to be, they're going to be pretty well aware of these creatures, that strange creatures keep showing up. Maybe they hear all sorts of weird sounds in the night and stuff like that. I like that. Banshee, an Abishai witch, or because Abishais are a thing, or a Banshee witch, all skeletons or zombies. Yeah, not aberrations, which was the weird part. That was the hard. Yeah, it'd be super easy if I wanted to pull like undead or natural creatures. Like that would be. It was the aberration part that made that a little bit more difficult. Local bandits that bite the like pull the players into an ambush. Yeah, if I had gotten humanoids or artificial stuff, or I got natural stuff, pretty much the hardest thing to get there would have been, well, the hardest thing would have maybe been constructs, but aberration was a little bit weird too, so I had to make it a little weird because aberrations are freaking weird. Let's see, how long is it going? All right, let's do one more, and then I'll probably take a short break. Check. I haven't heard my dog lose his mind. That means maybe they just dropped the package off. I need to go grab it though, if that is the case. All right, our next one. Construction, the village construction. I feel like I already have something for this. That's in the Western Hex. Oh, I don't have it in here. Should be in here. By the way, this Maker, you can't see it. There's a thing that I'm highlighting. It's the Maker Oracle Ruins, which is where that human sacrifice I was talking about happened. It was there. There should be something over here, though. I don't have a construction on here, which means I probably screwed this up. Let me go find the local map real quick. That will help me a lot. Pull up the local map. See if I did forget something, or maybe I'm mislabeled something, or I changed my mind about it. Boop. All right, well, I'm looking at it. Here on the left. So this is the local map. So each one of these, there's a nest of 7 hexes there. You can maybe kind of make out their outlines. So these are all the smaller hexes within these county hexes that we're looking at. So this is that giant battlefield. Here's the fish farm. You'll notice over here there's a suspicious lack of a construction site. And so that's weird. That's the thing that I screwed up. Not that big of a deal, though. Maybe I can just use something else from here, or I can just add it. I can just add it in real quick. I did not have it. It kind of makes sense to kind of maybe just plop it right down here in the middle. There's also these two. Yeah, it kind of makes sense to be just smack dab right there. I'm just going to add it here. That does make this area more interesting, though. It does. No, actually, you know what? Well, no, that's true. They took the south route, didn't they? Sorry, I'm thinking about like the way the characters have already been through this area on a previous adventure, and they went here, but I believe they took the south route up through here to get over to here. I don't think they ever took the straight path. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's true, because they specifically didn't want to go through these lands because of what they were doing, which was they were trying to keep things down on the down low. So they were trying to avoid these like nobility people who are in charge of this area. They're trying to skirt them. So yes. So if we drop it right in the middle, that's actually perfect. So crisis averted, apparently. So we have a construction of a village. Easy peasy. Knock it down. So, because I hadn't planned it, we don't have anything for it, so let's roll a d6. d6 plus 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. So that tells us exactly level for it. This is a construction. We also get to do all those construction rolls because I have not done them, obviously. Let's jump over to construction. Alright, so yeah, because it might be an old construction. That actually maybe be more interesting. Alright, so it is an old construction. That's gonna be natural. In the natural world. Old construction plant. Sure. It's just the theme. Go with plant theme. Pick up some of that later. We're getting in, once we get into like APL 08, we start to rising in the CR levels of creatures where there aren't a ton of plants anymore. Really the unfortunate thing about D&D 5e and 5.5 is that there are a lot of types of monsters or creatures that we just don't have a glut of options for them across the levels from 1 all the way up to 20 to encounter. Giants, elementals, not a problem. Dragons, not a problem. Celestials, problem. Plants, problems. Beasts, problems. Even though there's the new dinosaur book that's supposed to be coming out. And I guess maybe that'll be have some higher level dinosaurs in it, probably. Could be. Alright. The other kind of ambush, they find a wedding in the wild and are allowed to become guests. Oh, yeah. That would be very interesting. I don't know why somebody would want to have their wedding in the ruins of a giant fishery. But they could. That would be very interesting. Yeah, if it was a non-hostile ambush. Or it wasn't necessarily an ambush, it's just that something they stumbled across. That would... I have these like meeting places that I use in my world map when I map. You can probably see them down here. No, not that one. Not this one. There's one. Little reticles are meeting places, so that's places where people meet up and would have something like that. You might have something like a wedding out in the wilderness. People just need like a wide open space to have it. All right, new construction or repair. New construction high? Yes. Alright, so it's a new construction. Click on the wrong thing. Is it active? Probably. No, inactive. Good. We're losing lots. Good stuff. Inactive. New construction. So it's a kind of partially abandoned project. Those are always fun. And then we can tell if there's people who are living here and the percentage of it being complete. So I'm going to roll a d20. All right, well, it can't be 100% complete, so we're going to have to roll again. Or it could be 100% complete. It could always just be some sort of like weird ghost town like they have in, I think the place that jumps to my mind is always China, where they're like, oh, we made all these cities, and then there's nobody to live in them. We made all these planned cities, and there's nobody to live there. But I mean, it happens in a lot of places. Just for a reason, that's the one that jumps to mind. So if it's complete, so then it's more like a ghost town. Very cool as well. So it's a perfectly functional, and it's a village too, which is the wild thing. Especially if we have occupation, so there are going to be some people who lived there, it's just, it didn't maybe pan out how I wanted it to. So we can go, it's at a level where it should be a village, so up to 1,000 people. Oh, well, small. Okay, so 445. We're going to have an intended population of 445 because we're going to, if we have an occupation, it's going to be probably less than that. Because we rolled really low though, which is interesting. So it's not going to be a full ghost town. It's going to be like maybe a village that's decaying, which is weird to put under construction. So maybe it's like there's just like infrastructure stuff that's missing. Like maybe stuff's there, but like they didn't build like wells and stuff like that, or a storehouse. I like it. Love doing these tables because it always gives me something not really expecting. All right, so I guess we need an occupation here. Oh boy. Well, like I said, we're in a Heartland hex and I rolled a 6, which means, hey, you know who's living here? Monsters. Monsters are living here. Which is great, actually, because I think over here is... Go down here. That's a mud snake. Cool. Oracle. There's a spot in here. Oh, it's down here. That's why. So I want it to be likely that this is also has Sahagwin there, but it could be something else going on here. A lot of these settlements have some pretty tough stuff going on. Mud Snake's hanging out over there, who's kind of a, I guess you could call him a Robin Hood kind of figure. Not really. He's not super kind. He is an outlaw though. Notable outlaw. Okay. We also have the Maker ruins here, down here. Get some ruin stuff that are around here. I'm trying to think of any kind of monsters. So we know that's plants. Oh, so maybe it's just like plants overtook this. Cool. Like that. And we went with that. That's the thing. We don't have to use that as the creatures that are here. But let's see if there's something interesting that we get out of that. Take away that. We're going to add our plants in. We're going to have to clear this. That will not give us enough options. Our CR was 8. Yeah, so I mean, like, this is all the plant options we have, which is not a lot. Could be like a lot of wood woads and stuff like that. Which they've dealt with, but those guys are like more up here. Down here would be kind of... Body Taker plant is great. I like it a lot, but I've dropped it in a couple places pretty recently, and I don't want to overuse it. Free Blight. You know what? Maybe we should do a D100. An Oracle roll. See if that Spark roll. See if that gives us a little bit more information. So a symbol ambush. There we go. We were looking for that ambush. There it is. A symbol ambush. So we could go with the plant stuff. Maybe it's like every time that people try to move in, these creatures come out of the woods and attack them. I think that seems pretty reasonable. That way we can maybe do like a whole bunch of lower level stuff. And maybe we just have like one of these creatures kind of in charge of it. You could go all the way up and do like an animated tree, but I do kind of like this tree light, which is pretty close to an animated tree, I think, already. And grasping roots. Light can see within 15 feet. Failure, the target is up to 10 feet straight towards the light and has grappled condition from one of 6 roots until the grapple ends. Target takes 2d6 plus 6 bludgeoning damages turns, and it gnashes them. Gives them little chompy chomps. Not really the greatest token image in the world. I don't know a ton of what I'm looking at. I'm supposing that's supposed to be a maw, but a little difficult to parse. Okay, I like that. Not the most original thing in the world, but that's all right. All right, so the occupation is actually the. And I guess we're gonna have, blights. So, blight, which is a what was it? CR 7, I think. Okay, it's a little lower. That just means we need to put some more guys in there. There's tons of low-level blights that we can do that. The reason for the wedding is the fathers of the 2 parties. Oh, it could be a giant wedding, though they're responsible for the ruined fishery. Maybe like a shotgun wedding kind of situation. Maybe a forced wedding. That could be interesting. Yeah. They had a hard famine. Oh, for like why the town, yeah. Why they stopped construction. That's actually a very good interpretation. I like that a lot. We wanted to roll into the plant theme like that. And I would probably steal that if I hadn't rolled that there were going to be monsters in there instead of people. Some goblins that get there to use the fishing equipment. Yeah, really easy to throw any kind of monsters in there. What I love about using these tables and making myself kind of like focused to how do I not fall back on something as simple as like goblins, because that will be like a default go-to. Sometimes I don't want to do that. I want to make sure everything's a little weird, so I have things like go to a priest worshipping a preserved pit of offal, pulling out preserved intestines to use for scrying and all sorts of weird stuff. Make the world real weird. Okay. Well, I think we've got everything here. So old construction means that this thing has been around. I have 3 bands. I have recent, I have old, and I have ancient. So recent means it's most people who are alive remember whenever that thing happened. Old means there are a few people who are still alive who remember it. Tend to be like seniors, and they tend to be, this is fantasy world, so older races. So like humans and stuff like that, they're probably not going to remember it. Dragonborn, not going to remember it. Half orcs, not going to remember it. But you start getting into like gnomes and dwarves and elves. There are going to be people who remember this. Probably something that's was starting to be constructed like maybe a few hundred years ago, or probably within a century to be 2 or 3. So it would definitely be in the prospect of decaying. If it was 100% complete, you know what? I'm going to change that. I'm going to do audible. So I like the 100% complete, but I want it to have decayed. Okay, because it doesn't make sense if you leave a place alone for that many years that it still looks pristine. Not the case. All right, so it's down to 30%. It's 100% complete. Down to 30%. So they built this area, they were ready to move in, and then stuff went poorly. Now I'm just adding our spark. 8208. So fall treachery. So we could interpret that as fall. These sparks are for me to use later, essentially. So these sparks are for me to, if they go there, I can start thinking about what that adventure might look like when I get there. So I'm not pre-baking the adventures. I'm leaving the adventure to be whatever it's going to be. It's just a location where adventures can happen, where adventures may go, and there's interesting stuff to do there. See and do there. So fall treachery could mean there's something that happens in the autumn that would be very plant focused. That would be really cool, like a harvesting thing, which might be a foul harvest or a harvesting of people. It could just mean that there was some sort of treachery. Maybe they had some ancient agreement with the nature spirits that were there. They screwed something up. Plants decided to renege on whatever that agreement is because the humanoids didn't hold up their end of the bargain, and so they're not letting them move into that area, or who knows. Or lied about what the use of the area was that wasn't supposed to be for permanent occupation, or there was some misunderstanding about what it was supposed to be, or who knows what it is. Could have been like you needed to bring me a sacrifice every year. You need to bring our tree blight a sacrifice every year, and if you don't do that, then it's going to happen. And then at the end, they don't do that. So that's always a chance. Okay, so now we can make those. This is still in like a shoal area, right? Probably don't leave it up just in case. Yeah, I mean, everything looks like it's marshes, but it's not technically marshland. It just means that there's like sandbars and islands and shoals and coral. It's a dangerous area to take. You can't really take any sort of like larger ships in. Like it's too difficult to navigate that. But there is plenty of water. It's just kind of like peppered with little islands and stuff like that. As well as there might be, in addition, salt marshes there. Or coastal mangroves. I think maybe it'll be like... I mean, I guess we just call it the Blighted Village, right? A little on the nose, but that's alright. Like a name that's on the nose rather than... Could be... To have clarity, it's better to have clarity than be clever. is of a small fishing village. We'll say that. On inspection, clear the village was constructed purposefully. But never occupied. I'm gonna say just an old. And then we'll say here. We'll put our population number in there. I don't know why I would need that, but we have it, so why not use it? Purposefully constructed. Long ago, but never occupied. Overgrown with plant life. Lights. A tree blight. And we know that's CR07. Did I get everything? Not down to 30%. Third of its buildings still standing. All overgrown. But it's a creature like this, I won't necessarily come up with a name for them. And I realized down far. Alright, so we got the plant theme, we got old construction, we got new construction, and it was purposely 100% completed. Now it's down to 30%, about a third of the buildings are still standing. That's close enough for government work. And we've got the tree blight in there and the occupation. You never know when they're going to need to talk to plants anyway, so this is always... Well, it will probably be a hostile adventure location where they will probably, if they go there, they will probably end up fighting the blights. There's always a chance it's like they could try to approach it diplomatically and try to maybe open a dialogue with them, especially if they need to know something about plants. Like this could have been a good location to go during the current adventure I'm running, where they need to know more about, if they were wanting to learn more about like plant life, like the vegapygmies that they're dealing with. They could have gone here. It would have been really tough, and now that their charisma-based character, because that player has geographically moved, is no longer part of our game, is no longer in the party, they would have had a very tough time to it. But especially since our druid has speak with animals, but not speak with plants. So it would have been difficult, but they could have talked to them and maybe gotten information out. Would have been very difficult, though. So I don't give since we have monsters here, I don't give them a population because there'll be as many monsters as I will need for whatever that adventure is. To go there. And then I leave that spark there for, like, fall, treachery, to come up with something. An idea. I think we've hit everything. So just to read it all out loud. The Blighted Village. Peeking out of the shoals is the remains of an old fishing village. On inspection, clear the small village was purposefully constructed long ago, but never occupied. Instead, its remnant, it has It blinds. Instead, it is decayed with only a third of its buildings still standing, all overgrown with plant life, and the remnants are inhabited by blights, led by a tree blight. Did it. Ooh, a spirit marriage. Yeah, that'd be interesting. Spooky ghosts or nature spirits. A nature marriage would be interesting as well. Like a fae. It's almost fae-ish kind of thing. Players being diplomatic? Probably not. They usually aren't. But it could happen. One of these days it might happen. But usually, no. Usually it doesn't happen. Alright, I said I was going to take a break. I'm going to get some more coffee and see if that package arrived. And I'll be back in here in a few minutes. So this is a really good time because music just changed tracks. So I'll put us on extra music for while I'm gone. Alright, hurry. Sure. Reminisce of what we're talking about. Alright. You guys hang on. I'll be back in just a second. Alright, I'm back. Go ahead. Alright, yes. Package acquired. Dog has been. Sorry. Reading my music, trying to get that back up. It's like, is it playing? It just apparently this track just has a long, slow fade in. And I was like, is it play or not? All right. So we finished up the Blighted Village, and now we shall move forth, and that will be Paleh. I've already done the stuff for Paleh. I don't really need to do the stuff for Paleh again. We literally pulled up the document earlier. Right here. This got a little bit more because it's a much larger settlement, so it's got some more stuff going on. So we got the leader that's in there. Talk about their defense. These guys are gone. The Bloody Heather mercenaries are showing you the screen. You gotta keep me honest, chat. There we go. There you go. Paleh's got about 665 people in it, which seems very, very low. Didn't roll very. That, in fact, that should be too low, right? Because it should be. Oh no, I know why it's that small. Never mind. Because the real draw there is the pole and pint. That's really the thing. That makes sense why that's all size. So you have Inkari Paris. She's the leader. She's Lightkeeper and First Citizen. You got the Broken Seven, which is the gambling. Then you got the docks. You got the Fishwife's Hall. You got the Lightkeeper's Tower. The Pole and Pint, which is Voter Inn and Tavern. Temple of the Fanged Leviathan. And some other stuff over here. This stuff is out of date. This is no longer a character in this campaign. Yeah. Apothecary, Barber, Bazaar, Cooperage, Cutler, Grog, Seller, Jeweler, Mercer, Smithy, and Mice. A mice merchant. A spice merchant. Also the Euphorium and the Shipyard Court. Some of these places they have visited. Some of them they have not. And places like the Euphorium were built for characters like Sniz, who are no longer in the campaign, so they probably won't end up going there. But they haven't been there in a few sessions, so they should be going back to Paleh maybe next session? Maybe at the end of this session, this upcoming session, which is tomorrow. Prep for it. 2 pages. Most of the back is stat blocks because I don't know how this is going. Hard to prep for a situation like that because they're about to go in and do pretty much a big talkie. It's going to be a high RP episode. And so those tend to be the more difficult ones for me to prep for because I'm like, oh, I don't need stat blocks, I don't need encounters, but what do I prep? And also because I don't know how that conversation is going to go, especially now that their charismatic character has left the group. So we'll see. But based off of their adventure thus far, they have a lot of things that are weighted in their favor. So hopefully they will do well. There's always a chance for failure. That's why we play the game, and that's why we roll the dice. Alright, so that's Polyfavor John. True. John. What is the APL for Paleh? It's high. I know that. Is it? I have it down as APL 07. That is not correct. But we can back figure out what that's supposed to be. And figure out that that is supposed to be, so it would have been 5, 6, 7, so I probably rolled a d6, so it's 3 plus 10, so it should be APL. Because it's actually a region error, region level location. But I probably don't need to put a lot of that in this document because I have so much already for that. Sorry, was 11, 12, 13. Put her in. What was it, like 655 or something like that? I don't really need a spark for this location, but sure, let's go ahead and do one. Why not? We're here, aren't we? It'll give me an idea for what's going on. Because the spark there was already, they were going for the festival. That was kind of the big thing. Festival has come and gone, the spring festival. Uncover. What happened before the current? Eventually they went, uncover chaos. Yeah, I can think of something that's definitely uncover chaos going on there. There's tons of stuff. It depends on how we interpret uncover chaos. Lots of stuff going on there. And I'm not going to cover everything here. I'm just going to say, see. Just go see the document. You dumb. Okay. Because I know, and these are in the same folder. It's not like I'm going to lose track of them. All right. Simple enough. Move forward. Oh, here, sort of looks backlog. Yeah. So I'm probably, I think, well, I've done that with some of the other names, haven't I? So, like, I think I have named some. Did I use everything? Like, some of them I didn't, though. Oh, maybe I didn't. Fine. I must have, like, buried the names in there, huh? That's fine. No big deal. And we will do the same here. This is an APL 05. Location they've already been to. This is the Cypress Swamp Ferry. And it does indeed have a little hamlet attached to it with a population of 305. We can do a spark for it. $14.69. Avoid. Avoid exploration. Don't hang around. Actually, there's something real close to that area that totally makes sense for that. There's like, what is it, the Screaming Woods or whatever? It's over there. Like, yeah, don't go over there. People keep going in there and not coming out. But that makes total sense. This is from, oh man, I bet we can find, I have information about it because that's got to be in like Chapter 1, man. Is when the last time they were anywhere near there. Open this up. Session 1. And load it. Day. Docks. Oh, it's Bald Cypress. Ferry. That's fine. Yeah, they talked to a few people in there. Nothing of particular note, though. Yeah, I think really the only thing that is of note here, probably we pick it up here, is it's the Marsh King. Yeah, there's the Marsh King. Okay, that's fine. That was just kind of for my own notification. Trying to jump my memory. Old Cypress. The primary. Won't be outpost. What's the primary? Between the mainland, or the mainland peninsula, and Paleh Island. It crosses the waters of the Marsh King, which is a giant eel. And I mean, I guess the location doesn't, the ferry does. Usually not a problem, but every once in a while it is. So obviously, when they run on the ferry, obviously it's going to be a problem. So because playing the game of adventure. Now, it definitely was like way above their level, so they had to use a little bit of a trickery and exploration to get around it. This was definitely not a thing they could have fought and killed, especially in the water. I think that there's really not a lot to say here. I don't think we even know who's in charge of this place. Let's look at ferries, some of our crossing things that I have, just to see if we're missing anything. We got a settlement, we know what type it is. It is manned, it is old, I think. I believe. No, actually it's free. I don't think they had to pay for the ferry. They had to pay for the guide to get them there, but I don't think they had to pay for it. So it's in good repair. It is dangerous. But it is not toll. Okay. Hunting grounds with the Marsh King. Sometimes that's all we kind of need to write about stuff. Like, hey, it's dangerous here. Cool. Yep, that's about it. And that was all we needed to know about that. Actually, they might be able to take out the Marsh King now. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look at his actual stats again. Or at least what CR I put him at, as far as a danger level. Because I knew he was certainly above their level, because they were level 1 at the time. Like I said, it was like the second session to play. Alright, so 6 is done. 7. Alright, we got a village. We don't have anything developed here. And now we're outside of that, this little hex 7, this little rosette of 7. So now this is back on the mainland. And there is a thing here. Some sort of water course here. Figure out here. Just a second. But let's figure out. Need to roll. +4. 7. All right. Guys, there we go. This is just a village. Doesn't need a name, but right now it's village. And we don't know anything else about it, so let's pull it. Population 260. That is not correct. I will need to check that. Clearly, I rolled that under the hamlet. Sometimes I do that. I get the settlement sizes confused. It's not uncommon. But that is incorrect. Can't use that. So 655. That is changed over there. I guess I could just write down here. Rewrite it again. All right. Yeah, because we're technically talking about that level. The village was just a county map, so that's the size. Really, there's not a lot of stuff that's down in here. There's a lot of extra cruft for me for running stuff, but not as much when it's kind of generating what's going on there. Settlements are just kind of like, hey, people live there and work there. One of the things I probably need to go back in and add in here, and I've gotten some other documents, is, hey, what's this place kind of known for? Or what is their specialty or kind of thing that they focus on for a village? Anything that's beyond just subsistence farming. Given that it is orange, which means that it's going to be kind of a scrubland, it's highly likely that this is maybe one of the more primary wine growing areas of the Caliphate. Because it's the largest hex of scrubland there is. Or largest cluster, I should say. Which means it's probably the best wine growing territory outside of maybe way the heck over here, which is literally on a different continent. Now again, it's not very far away, relatively. As far as the peninsula, mainland, Caliphate is concerned, this area right here that's going to be it. So they probably make. That'll be things like it'll be good, sandy, dry soil that's really good for stuff like wine or olives are really good there. Anything that you want to think is classically Mediterranean or kind of Napa Valley, California-esque, very similar. Also an area that's kind of like that where I grew up, which is neither of those places. Surprise, surprise, I'm not from Italy. I know that comes as a surprise to everybody, including me. For a while, I was Italian. That's an inside joke that nobody's gonna get. All right, so we have a village here. That's really all we needed to know. So we can come up with a name for this place. Otherwise, I mean, we can give them a little theme, like kind of what's going on with them. I guess. Do that. Let's do that first. So we're still in a very civilized area. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Nature. What's the first thing in nature? Beast, I believe. So some sort of beast theme. That's fun. I like that. And clearly in the outrun list now. Squid, rollworms. Titanothere. Yeah, lots of aquatic creatures, not a lot of terrestrial creatures at these levels. Especially if we don't include dinosaurs. I'm kind of thinking maybe we grab these and mammoth can be like mammoth bones. Like maybe there's kind of thing you want to go like tar pit remains or something like that. Or we could do like caliche. Yeah, maybe like a caliche kind of thing. I like that. I like that. I'm thinking like so there'll be like aquatic fossils. So it's like a limestone deposit, caliche, that is generally built from like a place that used to be underwater. So when the seas have receded because of generally an ice age, and more that's taken up into ice, there are places that used to be underwater, not underwater anymore. So you can find like these sort of sediments like this, where you can find a bunch of like aquatic fossils inland. Always very fun. Find like fossils of shells and trilobites and all sorts of weird stuff. It could be known for traffickers. Yeah, a pretty open place. Or like Pathfinders. Yeah, is definitely the sort of area you might be able to get lost in pretty easily. They're known for their sticks. Their snake stew. Could be. Sometimes villages are just villages, and I don't know why I'm pressing on it so hard. Trying to make something interesting out of it. Sometimes the place is just the place. And that's okay. Let's make up a name for this place though. We know that's a D6 that I'm gonna roll. Again, I'm gonna update some of this stuff because I don't love the feature and function. Okay. Well, I get the feature is gonna be like the fossils. I think part I like. Function is a village. Right. That's what it is. Uh, Unless we could go like orchard. You know, there's an old document I have. Maybe I'll pull it up real quick. Let me see if I can find it. Make that eye roll. I believe it's this stuff. Which has a whole bunch of stuff, which we're gonna need anyways, because I need to look at the river classifications. So that works perfectly well. I thought there was a thing in here. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. A reference? No. Show me all the results. Well, this way. I don't want to waste too much time on this. No. I don't know where this thing is. Uh, No, it keeps bringing up like this document as if that is the document, which I thought it was. It's not. Lost to the annals of time, I think, maybe. At least for now. Well, yeah. Boop. Hoping that I would have it. It's gonna give me some flavor for it, but that's okay. Again, it's alright if it's the thing. I'm gonna call it Fossil Fields. Don't need to make it too fancy. But yeah, unfortunately I couldn't find the thing I was looking for. They just think they're known for something. Maybe they're not known for anything. Yeah, I think the Fossil Fields, I think that's a fun one. A lot of fossils are found. I was thinking, I was trying to play off like the mammoth thing, which just kind of sent me down that path. I was like, oh, well, if we have a bunch of aquatic creatures and stuff like that, that gives us a ability to use beasts without having to make it just like, and squids inland or something like that. But nope, we just make it that. We'll just call it that. I guess it's kind of... River. Don't know what the river's name is yet. We're gonna figure that out in a second. Fossils of ancient sea creatures. We'll say are while working the land. That's it. Doesn't have to be super fancy. Sometimes it's just super simple. All right, let's figure out a spark for him though. 1, 2, 3, 4. 63. Reverse. Reverse the mundane. That is. Nothing really comes to mind for me for that, but that's okay. Maybe something trying to reverse the mundane. Something not mundane poking in through the veil. Perhaps. Who knows what it is? Could be something. They're just a bunch of drunks. That's all they are. They're just out there getting drunk in the fields. Crazy. All right, well, fossil fields. I'll just put this in here, even though I don't think I'll forget that it's a village by looking at it, but let's put it on there just in case. This place is actually not named after the river next to it. All right, I said that we needed to do the river, and speaking of, we've got that stuff down here. Placing rivers, That's the wrong thing. Those are classifications. So if we go and look at our map, we see that it's going to start here, and then it's going to end up here. So that tells me it's going to be like the kind of the middle course where we're at. So we are in our county hex. We want this middle course, so it's creeks and streams. Since it's pretty close, I'm going to go with creek. So it's a pretty small kind of river. In fact, a creek. Or crick, you know, where you are in the US. So, few fords that are uncommon. Because they're pretty shallow. It's down to about 5 feet. So I mean, most of the time you can kind of cross it without a ford. But you can really only put like some pretty shallow draft stuff on there with a light load. An experienced hand at trying to actually navigate it. Right. Freak. Got it. In here as well. And we can roll again over here. Nope. This is the wrong document. Too many documents are open. Get rid of that one. I'm gonna leave that open for right now. Probably don't need it. Go for a name for our creek. Or identifier, feature, or function. Well, the function's obviously creek. Feature could be like bend or part of the landscape. Go the hills into the flat. Let's figure out the identifier first. Seven. Prolific mineral, rock, or sediment. Okay. Well, you kind of know caliche, so let's say, but I don't want to say caliche. Let's say chalk. Maybe it's named after the place it comes from, so we might call this like the Chalk Hills up here. Yeah, why not? We'll go Chalk Hills. And this one, I'll have to put a name. Put that little name on it, so now we know it. And since we referenced a proper noun, we'll go get that little bold so we know what's going on there. Which, in fact, I should have done that for the marsh. Can't remember what CR the giant eel is. I know it's not high, though. Paleh Island as well. All right, that is Fossil Fields and Chalk Hills Creek. Done. Keep on moving. Known for its mosquitoes. They're delicious mosquitoes. Too large, too small, too many of them, perhaps. Thirsty mosquitoes. Alright, so that puts that throws us down here. And we're fully outside of the poly stuff, so actually we can close all the poly islands. We're fully outside of them now. Well, that's not true. That is not true. They close it. Could need it. Maybe not. We'll see how far we get. Because maybe we'll stop right before that. Let's see how long it takes us to do this one, and then maybe we'll do one more after it. Because I didn't realize we gotten so late. Fortunately, I got other stuff I gotta do today, guys. Sorry. We'll jump in here and we'll do it. How about that? Boom, boom. All right. So it is some sort of sign. Let's figure out what the CR for it is. +4, 10. Okay. CR 10. Interesting. Interesting. So we can go to element info warning signs. There we go. Yep. Yeah, let's go ahead and figure out a theme. A little something to percolate upon. Man, we're rolling a lot of 4s. 4 is again going to be natural. Whatever the last thing is, which I believe is plants. So it is indeed plant again. Great. Perfect. No problems. And so we're gonna have another plant theme. Now, is it old? Is it new? New is old again. Is it borrowed or blue? Recent. No, it was put up recently. 6 and 7. A maze or a roadside stand. Can we throw both of those together? Some sort of. It's funny. It's funny if it's an attraction. But usually, and sorry, I slipped wrong on my back and it's been bugging me today. Usually, a sign will point to some place around it. So it could be pointing to this conflict area that we don't know anything about. It could also be pointing to this no trespassing area. Either one of these would be really good. I kind of like maybe a maze of marsh down to that trespassing area. Ooh, I like that even better. All right. Well, I don't know what's going to be in the no trespassing zone. It's a problem. I mean, I could determine what's there. You could also roll for it. So maze / roadside stand. Both of those will work. I like that because I'm thinking that the no trespassing area, that would be very funny. I like that. If that's it, I should share the idea. I shouldn't share it for you guys. I was thinking, what if it's like a roadside stand from whatever's living in the no trespassing area, and they bring like their own like little market there. And I was wondering, it's like, oh, what if it's unattended? That's very funny. If it's like a roadside booth and it's like, we use the honor system. Please pay for whatever you take, or make a trade for whatever you take. But that assumes that there's some sort of like thoughtful creature, sentient creature that lives there. But I don't know that yet. But I can figure that out really quickly. Let's go over the no trespassing. No trespassing area. There we go. So we can figure out what that is. 2d6 roll for right now. Hillfolk tribal lands and neutral monster lands. That gives me very strong, like, Beastman kind of things. That's where we start talking about things like gnolls are like that. I mean, or could be were creatures, any sort of like pseudo civilized bestial creatures. Could be like half dragons or dragonborns kind of thing. Could be bullywugs. That'd be a fun one. So maybe not a super great area for them. Yeah, let's pull up something that works there. I like this. I think this will work very well. I bet if we can find something that's like a CR10 that's going to give us a good, like... Oh, actually, we don't even know what CR this is. Sorry. But I'm technically kind of doing 2 at one time, which is something I try not to do, but I think it's going to be super useful to know beforehand. Okay, it's also going to be 10. This is actually, so 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No folk or neutral monster. It's also APL 10. Alright, so let's find something that will work. I don't know how many, especially after 5.5 redux of stuff, how much of that stuff will fall under there anymore. Because they kind of move stuff around. Like some things are fiends now that used to be humanoids or monstrosities, and a biomancer. A lot of things are not under humanoid anymore. Maybe it'll be better if I do larger. Yeah, I'll make it a little bit larger for you. So I think that maybe I just don't assign anything. Undead, constructs, giants, aberrations, humanoids. Noble prodigy might work. Ooh, actually, this might be a good place to put like a Genasi enclave. That might be fun. My group really hasn't had to mess with those yet. Genasi have a very particular place within the world setting. That they are kind of ostracized because, as we kind of talked about with the elementals and the giants that are a little bit more chaos tinged, Genasi, because they're touched by the elements, are also very chaos tinged. So there's a lot of people that don't like them. In fact, most, well, I shouldn't say most people. A lot of people don't like them. So they kind of live mostly off by themselves. Would give us the ability to drop them in here. So they kind of live sporadically around places in their own little... They try to stay away from other people. So I kind of like that. That's really good because it kind of toes that line between neutral monster and hill folk. Having somebody like this noble prodigy who maybe is heading up that area, sort of a lost tribe, Israelites kind of thing. And kind of that vibe. Just they forked off from where, because most of them kind of live, most of the Genasi, like the biggest enclave of Genasi, live in a very specific place, which is not particularly close to here. I mean, there are places that are further away from here, but not close by any means. So I think maybe that works the best. I mean, there's lots of other stuff down in here. This is Dark Weaver. Definitely not that. And I mean, that makes sense with like the road stand and stuff. Like, that's really cool. I don't know why am I stop selling myself? I've already convinced myself. What was it? A noble prodigy. Like that. So that's maybe the person. Or monastic high curator. Any of those would work. Brain burn. They also do psychic damage, which is very cool. Take magic, identify, scrying. That's a weird thing for monks. Gotta have their monk wizards. I think maybe I like this guy better. No, we have a lot of 10s, so. And I can basically add any humanoid construct on top of that and just be like, and they're also a Genasi. Probably not going to be cultists. Not really their vibe. Maybe Gith. Yeah, the Gith would work too if I wanted to reskin them instead of Gith and make them. Yes. We can always go back and change if we need to. But for right now, it'll be this Noble Prodigy. That's going to be the. Alright. Did the thing that I didn't want to do, which was do 2 of these at one time, but that's fine. So the focus here is going to be 14 hex. Going to be our and that's going to be led by Prodigy. Done. Love it. And I'm going to have to look up name stuff from them because they are definitely not from here, so they're going to have different naming. Because they're insular, they're not going to adapt that language. Getting way ahead of myself. Alright, so we've got this. Great. We got this, we got the omen info, we know what type it is. Do an occupation here. Which means that, like, if they come talk to people in this location, even though I rolled, it's going to be empty. So there's no occupation. So, not a concern. So people are staying away from here. I was like, if we had rolled that there was going to be like a little hamlet or something here, it would be like, oh, these people are going to be weirdly tight-lipped about stuff that's going on in the area because they know that not everybody's cool with Genasi. And let's do a spark table. Like this. I like it when stuff comes together like this. Really fun. Fun idea. 5 and 54. Deliver. And deliver. Deliver spirit. That could be interesting. I like it. And is that everything we needed out of here? What is the site communicating? Warning against the danger of nearby proximity? Yes. Oh yeah, no, that'll be super cool because it'll be like great having Genasi here because that means that Genasi are master of the elements, which means we have a maze here. It's like they can literally just magically force a maze up. So it'll be like this living hedge maze, not like a pruned garden maze, but like massive banks that are taller than people that then are going to be covered with plant life. And to like keep people from getting into this area. Protect them from people who might otherwise come through that route. Come down from the mainland and come that way. It's less likely that they're going to get a lot of traffic coming from the south. And I realize that I'm not sharing that with you. I'm pointing at stuff on the map and nobody's saying it. Nobody can see what I'm doing. So they're here. They put the maze here to keep people kind of coming down into that area. They're probably not going to have to worry as much from people coming out from the south area. Not as many people down here as well. Than like the mainland. And the hills over here are also going to have their own warning sign, which might also be pointing to that, which could be another maze, which would also be very cool. Are you good to go? Alright, good night. Take it easy. So, really love it when plan comes together like this. Go really well. It's communicating like kind of stay away, and it's rather than communicating in like a verbal language, like a sign that's like warning here be dragons or anything like that. It's like no, we're gonna put like a literal maze runner style maze. Like good luck trying to get through. Because I don't think it's prophesizing a doom or something like that. It's not that kind of an omen. And it's not directional signage. Laws of the land or history or legend, nothing like that. Not like a code law stone or something like that. So it's literally just kind of trying to keep people away. I feel like will work out very well. Good way to call that though. Maybe I just call it like the maze of mounds. Yeah. I'm a sucker for alliteration. Maze of mounds. Oh, we didn't give it an age. We need an age for it. 5, so it's old. That's good. I really didn't want it to be recent. Is the stand also old? Question mark? No. Okay, so the stand's, I assume, more recent? Probably. No, the stand's somehow even older. Oh, okay. The stand's even older. This thing at this point is like ancient. And the maze is old. Oh no, I got recent. Okay. So the maze is recent, and maybe I'll swap that around. I'd rather. So I'm just gonna ask a question: are things getting better or worse for them? Worse. All right. So they're retreating. They're not out. So the maze is new, and the roadside stand is old. We're not gonna go with ancient there. We're gonna go with old. I think that makes a little bit better sense. All right. So a row of roadside it's not an actual road here. We can just say market stalls. Stands in the middle of this. Unattended market stalls. Stand around entrance to a strange living maze. Mounds of earth thrust out ground and waters. And land, I guess. Verdant with growth. Great. Towering. Living maze. He's already said that. I guess we can just say strange maze. That's fine. Lined with, let's say like foodstuffs, the handicrafts, and other small items sell using the honor system. Like it. Perfect. All right, so they throw that together. Occasionally, money is collected and vendor items stored or replenished. But it is unknown by who or when. I said when or by whom. Be a better way to phrase that. All right, so that we didn't address the age aspect. The roadside stands, market stands. Older than the maze itself. Appeared recently. They leave it pretty vague. I like to do that, so as long as I use the term old, and then we talked about old means maybe decades. It means hundreds of years, but at least decades. Whereas recent means probably within one human person's lifespan, or that most people will remember when that happened, and suddenly the maze was there. We'll say it appeared recently. The great shuddering of the earth. And its walls are insular by an insular, which was what, hex 14? All right, I think that hit everything. We got the sign, we got the plants, we got the maze being recent, we got the stands, those being older, pointed towards the thing, liver spirits. And I guess because we're already doing it, if I stop now, we're good to go back and realize that these are tied together. So I should go ahead and do that now, and then that will be the last thing that we do for sure. Started taking a little bit longer than that. That's okay. Alright, so this is the no trespassing land, so let's get some extra stuff that's going on down there. We know we have the Genasi aspect of it. We know that it has to be at least old. We have to roll at least 4, 5, or 6. Alright, so it is also old. We can go for occupation, because remember, this is a larger area, so there is a chance that somebody else is living here. Actually, we should just be able to tell us how many of these people live here, probably. Which, we're looking at it's their land, so I assume that there is a full-blown village here. I'm going to make that assumption. There's like 850 of them here. Nice. And I put that under the wrong thing. So, go me. Fine. It goes here. Alright. Very well. Alright, we got our occupation. Days. So, some common travelers to encounter. So there are presumably people who know that they are here. Or are trying, either that or trying to get through the maze or trying to get here. 1 or 2. Click on the right thing. Adventurers, guards, or mercenaries. I think that makes more sense than artisans, nobles, and performers. I don't know why they would be hanging out in the middle of nowhere. I'm going to go with adventurers, guards, or mercenaries. I think that makes more sense. So it is a Heartland area, so there is a 5 in 6 chance that you're going to come across these people. I think it's like there are clearly people who are like have been trying to get through the maze, or maybe people like adventurers who don't care that much about who they are, or mercenaries who also probably don't care that much about who they are. There is also that conflict area that's nearby, so it makes sense that there are people who kind of show up. Now let's go ahead and get a spark for these guys as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so we got 23 overcome and 83 overcome theft. Maybe that's what happened with the stalls. Could be. We don't need to, like I said, we don't need to put that down now. We don't need to manifest that or make it concrete. Maybe they had something important stolen from their village. Or maybe they stole something important from somebody, and maybe that's why there's all the adventurers and guards and mercenaries around. Could be. I'll have to come up with a name for this guy. I'm not going to look it up now, but I would have to look up the location as to where they are probably from. Like I said, their naming scheme is going to be very, very different than everything that's been here, which has been very sort of technically Persian inspired. They're going to have to get something else. That's alright, though. Is there anything else that we need to grab? I think that was it. Technically, we didn't give them a theme, so we could give them a theme just to see if there's a little cherry on top. That. We are in a civilized area, so that's gonna be artificial. What's 8? 8's right before 9. Gigante. Right. Giant theme, whatever that means. We already saw them being having these massive earth mounds that they've made for this maze around them. So maybe that's what they've done, if they've made these crazy earth huts. Like we think about like a turf house or something like that. They've done that, but on a scale that is beyond what engineering at the time would be able to do like that. So maybe that's what like that. Which means that this noble prodigy is probably, I can't think why he wouldn't be an earth element. Or earth genasi. I think that makes sense to me. Let's get this place a name. Need it. 4 and 1. Some sort of basic adjective. And so quality. Feature, function, well, it's going to be enclave for sure. I kind of want to go with mounds again because they're going to make these big things, but also go with like rows. Save. I mean, the feature could just be Genasi. The elemental enclave. I'm thinking rows for like the houses, and giant longhouse kind of things. And some quality, so we could go with beautiful or fine or wondrous. Um, I'm trying to think of a good quality word. Robust. Steady. Sturdy. Maybe just sturdy. Yeah. Sturdy Rose Enclave. And it's not the greatest name I've probably ever come up with, but it's probably not the worst either. And as with anything, I could always come back and change it. It'll also sound much nicer if I take it and throw it into and kind of cobble it together with some other languages. It'll be more something they would probably call it. So they're not going to call it in like basic English. So it's going to sound fancy already when I do that. So it's going to sound better when I do that already. So I don't need to worry about, yeah, sure, in basic English it sounds probably kind of dumb, but most names sound kind of dumb. Oh, I should just call it Giant Rose. There. Theme. Done. Giant Rose Enclave. Alright, so. Slave. We'll say secretive. Just be our filler for the name there. Earth Genasi. And we'll add on to that as Noble Prodigy. PR10. Yes. I know, you don't recognize Genasi. That's fine. I guess I could. I normally wouldn't, but I guess we can. Hold that because it's going to be a proper name. I just don't know what the name's going to be yet. Hey, Cutter. How's it going? How's the solo campaign going? Nice to see you, by the way. It's going all right. I mean, last session we interviewed a would-be assassin. Session before, our main character was about that close, as in death saving throws, from dying before even reaching his first level. So things are better, but let's see, we ended the last episode. They needed to take an alternate route to where they're going, to the marches. And while resting on a boat overnight on Green Lake, Kristoff had to slay an undead, a drowned body that had pulled itself up onto the deck of the boat. But he slew it on his watch. It was solo. So we're going to wake up with them discussing what the heck that's about. And then pushing on to White Birch End and then into marches. So it's going not as well as it could be, but better than not at all, which is almost what it was, because our character very nearly died after an assassination attempt. Alright, so we have the secretive enclave of Genasi, led by blah blah blah. Is brilliant multi-story longhouses. Which create a I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Mercenaries. Alright, I think that gets us everything we need to do here. Oh, you've been busy with work. You didn't have time to follow up on many things. Does the PC have a class? Nope, not yet. He's getting close to it. As soon as we get into the marches and strike his claim, he'll get it. So he's, at this point, probably like 80% of the way there. So he's getting close. And we've got all his stats pretty much sorted out. So he's probably going to end up something in the cleric, or he's going to end up something probably wisdom or charisma based. So there's a chance he might go bard, might go sorcerer. He could go warlock. He probably won't go warlock, just for the functionality sake, as being a 1 PC show. And warlocks are a little less powerful than that. So one of those. Could end up a druid. I mean, we have some different ways to go with him. Hopefully things are calming down for you. Unfortunately, you've come in at pretty much the end of the stream. So this was the last thing we were going to do. So here we are. So, the Giant Rose Enclave. The secretive enclave of Genasi is led by an Earth Genasi. The enclave comprises brilliant multi-story earth and turf longhouses. The enclave hides their presence from most of the world, especially after the issues with their market stalls to the northwest. Deciding to create a natural maze barrier they know the pathing through. Between their lands and the mainland. They know the path. Occasionally, adventurers, guards, and mercenaries can be found in the vicinity of the enclave, some who are friend, most who would be foe. I guess we meet them. So there's 5 and 6 chance to encounter adventurers, guards, or mercenaries when you're moving through the area. So there are people who are trying to find this place or are friends. It's probably a pretty big adventure location. I'm sure that, like, the maze probably has all sorts of stuff in it, so that's probably a popular destination for a lot of these people. There are guards who are probably from the mainland who are like, we're worried, we're patrolling what this weird thing is that just kind of showed up. However long ago, not very long ago, recently. They're checking with that. Mercenaries who may or may not be trying to recruit Genasi, may or may not be hired to find the Genasi, who may or may not be trying to do whatever they're doing. And then we have that spark. We're going to overcome theft, and the Genasi village itself has about 8. And that's where we're going to leave today. That was the plan. We got through it. We did everything. Go us. So we got through quite a bit. You know, we got through a number of things. And indeed setting up this entire page. So we got that done. So I mean, we're a long ways from being fully done. We have so many points of interest to detail. And that's fine. It's lots of content. Also lots of things for me to practice, but this now I'm starting to develop things that are immediately around the location where my players are in their campaign. So they will have all these cool locations to go to. They'll be able to go to the Primordial Atoll, where they can deal with the giants who are trying to contain this, what do we call it, primordial plasma that's eking out of the atoll center that's generating these chaotic elementals. We have the Calm Giant Fishery ruins, the ruins of that fishery of some giant-on-giant violence and what's going on there, as well as that intact awful pit that's preserved and that smell magically enhanced to draw strange creatures to it. So we have a wandering monster role, and it's bringing things like the Kuatoa Archpriest, who's worshipping and divining using the entrails from the pit. We have the Blighted Village. It was a purposely constructed village that is nobody ever moved into. It's never been occupied, but the remnants are inhabited by those blights led by a tree blight. Some sort of fall treachery, which might be the autumn, which might have something to do with why the thing was ever made. Anyways, they're keeping people away from it. We've got Paleh, which is something we didn't need to do anything about because I already have that entire area because that's the center of the campaign right now, so we don't have to worry about that. It is the primary kind of like trade town, port town, big smuggler's den off the mainland. We have Bald Cypress Swamp Ferry. Again, didn't need to do much there. It's the main ferry from the mainland over to Paleh, and it's mainly known for having the Marsh King, which is a giant eel that's in that path. We put together the fossil fields, which is that scrubland village along the banks of the Chalk Hills Creek, best known for the fossils of ancient sea creatures that are often found while working the land. And it's a village. I know what to tell you. Got the maze of mounds, which was the unattended market stalls and the strange maze that was made by this Genasi enclave that we just finished. Trying to keep people away. So it is sort of their like hands-off attempt to do some sort of trade with the outside world. But now they're doing it very, very secretively, and that deals with the history of the world and the setting, where Genasi are not particularly liked by a lot of people because of how close they are. As lots of people call them, they are the Chaos Touched. And people don't like that, because Chaos tends to be real bad. And the Giant Rose Enclave, which was good. So that was everything. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys to see how somebody kind of does the hex mapping. You can create these adventure locations out front, as I hit the mic. You can do these adventure locations out front in the campaign, not have to build full-out adventures, and then give your players the ability to kind of like move around the map and check out what things are interested to them, and then when they go to locations, they try to pick up rumors or want to know about like quests they could do in the area. You can pull one of these locations and be like, oh, well, people are going to have rumors about this weird place, about, oh, by the way, there's like this fishery that got attacked just a little while ago. Don't know what that's about, but you could go check that out if you wanted to. There's also people in the area been hearing those weird screams and cries in the night, which are to an archpriest doing stuff, and all sorts of weird creatures that have been showing up around the area. If you want to go check that out, you can go check that out. If you want to go check it out, you want to deal with the Marsh King, which seems to have become more agitated recently, go check that out and find out what's bothering the Marsh King, or just go kill the Marsh King, depending on where your players go. So it kind of gives you this idea, like Fossil Fields, which is just kind of a mundane village. Doesn't really have, on the surface, anything going on with it, but it is a location people stop and like resupply. Also could be an area that is maybe kickoff for something else that's going on in the area, or becomes a base of operations, whatever adventures they do in the. So, as an idea of like things you can do, you can create these adventure locations, kind of have them in your back pocket, so anytime the players are ready to move on to a different area or are looking for their next quest, you have, oh, well, here's like 2 or 3 different things that are nearby you that you've heard about. Whichever one seems the most urgent or most interesting for you to check out, and then go do 2 of those. I like the 2 out of 3 things. Like if you do 2 of those quests, then the third one that we talked about has resolved itself in some way, which means it's either somebody else took care of it, or things have really gotten worse with it. You might have to deal with it now, and it's going to be way more difficult. Usually let it resolve itself, but occasionally if it's very interesting or it doesn't really make sense that anybody would have gone and resolved it. But that's it for the stream. Thanks for hanging out, guys. If you like the stream, if you want to help me out, there's a lot of different ways to do that. There's links down in the description if you want to throw me a buck or whatever, or if that's not your thing, make sure you can subscribe or leave a comment or hit with that like. All that sort of engagement stuff kind of helps, especially over on the YouTube side of things. That's it for me, guys. We're going to hit this back on Saturday. I'm not quite sure. I have an idea of what we're going to do on Saturday. It's not going to be the solo RPG, but I have an idea. But I also have a second idea that's maybe bubbling up to the surface. It might be more. I'm not sure yet. You'll have to check out Saturday, see which one I end up doing. But that's it for me. Thanks for hanging out, guys. I'll talk to you later. All right? Bye.